Miles hit me earlier today. He said, give me a few sleeper programs you have your eye on from Kalamazoo, Michigan. And Miles, in classic fashion, I want to over-deliver, so I'm going to give you 4. And the first one is Texas Tech. How many of you are paying attention? Judging by the numbers, not many of you, but I've been paying attention to Texas Tech for you. You know, in the Big 12, Texas and OU are about to leave. We know that. This is their last year, as a matter of fact. And it's sneaking up on us pretty quick. So if we're talking about a sleeper program, we're talking about more than just a team that could shine this coming fall. We're talking about teams that are positioned pretty well. I think Texas Tech is about as well positioned as any sleeper program out there could be. Because not only are OU and Texas about to leave the conference, that didn't bother them, frankly, when they were in the conference last year. They beat OU and Texas. First time since when? First time ever in the history of that program that they beat OU and Texas in the same year. Joey McGuire's got a lot of people excited out there. Did you know they had a top 30 recruiting class this past cycle? They are rated number 12 right now, albeit very early in this 2024 cycle. Got a top 15 rated class this upcoming cycle. They have tons of love. Love Joey McGuire. They love the moves they made there. Really, really good puzzle piece kind of culture fit. They were 8-5 last year. Okay, that's already their best record since 2013. They had a top 30 offense, and they returned 75% of the production from that. So they may very well be a high-level team this year, but I don't think it's just a one-hit wonder. I don't think it's a let's build and invest everything in 2023. I think Texas Tech is set up to really do some big things. And the question that a lot of folks are asking out there is, what is the post-Sooners Longhorn Big 12 going to look like? And there's going to be a lot of oxygen in the room. That's the answer. Someone, or maybe a few someones, are going to suck that oxygen up for themselves, and I would not be shocked at all if Texas Tech was that program or one of those programs. Now, I don't know how to responsibly say what I'm about to say, but the next team I have written down on this piece of paper is not going to make sense to you. So I'm warning you ahead of time, you're about to call me an idiot. And rarely do I see that coming, but in this case, I see it coming. So I'm going to need you to do me a favor. I'm going to need you to listen to the team I'm about to say, and then I'm going to need you to give me like a 45-second grace period before you start yelling. Iowa is a sleeper program. You promised me you'd keep quiet for 45 seconds, so let me do my thing here. 94th in returning production this year, 49% of that defensive production return, so a lot of it's out the door. They lost Riley Moss, Jack Campbell. They were top 15 defensively in every category last year. Well, Josh, what are you doing? So far, you've just convinced me they're going to be worse this year. Oh, it gets better. They were 130th in yards per game offensively. Josh, okay, you're telling me defensively they won't be as good. Offensively, they sucked water through a garden hose last year. How is this a sleeper program? I think there's going to be staff change there eventually. That's what makes it a sleeper program. See what's happened at Wisconsin? You see what's happened at Nebraska? I think it's going to happen at Iowa. Kirk Ferentz has been there a long time. I got folks who are well into their college years who are listening to or watching this show who weren't born when Kirk Ferentz took the job at Iowa. It's been there a long time. It's been a really good run. I think the next chapter of the Big Ten is going to require teams like Iowa to hire a higher caliber head coach, one that's more built for where the sport is now and where the sport is going. And it's not a hot seat segment, nothing like that. But the reason I think Iowa is a sleeper program is because when that change happens, if they get it right, I think the program could fly really, really high. And I think that some of that television money that's been pumped into the conference has gone a long way in fueling the decision-making, the hiring decision-making at places like Nebraska, bringing in Matt Rule, at places like Wisconsin, bringing in Luke Fickell. I think that the conference as a whole has a collective understanding that we've got to be more aggressive. We've got to have higher profile head coaches, higher caliber head coaches, higher caliber staffs. They don't have that at Iowa. Point blank, they don't have that there right now. I think they may in the future. If and when that happens, that's why I classify Iowa as a sleeper program. So, some mental gymnastics, I'll grant you that, but I think that they do have a sleeper up there. It's not hard to picture Iowa contending. They've already done it. It's just that I'm not sure the current iteration of Iowa football is conducive to thinking that's about to happen again. Okay, now we get more back up on a path that at least you can follow me on. I think if we go to the SEC, there's a program in the West, the SEC West, that's a sleeper program, and that's Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is very much a sleeper program. Now, they've taken a different approach to talent acquisition. You and I have been talking about this lately. I had Jesse the other day say they've kind of taken a UCLA of the South approach. And what he means by that, for those of you who haven't been following recruiting or the portal, is Ole Miss does not sign top 15, top 10 recruiting classes. That's not the way that they are getting the job done. What they are doing, at least what they have done, is they've signed top 10 portal classes. Number 2 portal class in 2022. Number 6 portal class so far in 2023. And also, I'm talking about the future here with Ole Miss. They've been doing really, really well in the present. They've had 18 wins over their past 2 years. That's tied for the second most since the early 60s. They've been doing really, really big things. I think a lot of folks overlook that accomplishment because they started so fast and then they fizzled down the stretch this past year, which I understand. So the first thing is the talent acquisition part is, I think, a little overlooked. The second is Lane Kiffin continues to bring what should be a quality batch of quarterback talent to choose from on campus. They've got 3 of them up there right now that they very well could win with. And then the other part is he had the Auburn job. Lane Kiffin had the Auburn job if he wanted it. It was his. And he turned it down for whatever reasons. I'm not really interested in discussing that tonight. Whatever reasons were on the table. So if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm looking at all the above, and then I'm looking at the fact that, hey, man, our guy's still here. And it's not just a passing attack. And this is another thing that I think a lot of folks just flat out misunderstand about Lane Kiffin, because you may not watch a lot of Ole Miss football. You think Lane Kiffin and you think clipboard flying through the air because there's a wide open receiver down the field, end zone, because most of your minds work in highlight, unless you're just watching every game. That is not Ole Miss. That can be Ole Miss, but that has not been Ole Miss. They were the number 3 rushing offense in the country last year. In the country. All of them in the country. They had the number 6 explosive play rate. So they were explosive play after explosive play, but it was on the ground. So they've shown the ability to carve you up offensively in a number of different ways. I think they're a sleeper program. And the last one, and I don't think anyone could see where I'm going with this one. Frankly, Iowa was way off the radar. But what if I told you the University of Arizona is a sleeper program? Not necessarily to win the Pac-12 this year as we look at the odds on the screen. I think Arizona under Jedd Fisch. I'm going to whisper so no one finds out. Just be our secret. Sleeper program. 5 wins last year. Not that impressive, right? Yeah, well, it is when you know the over-under win total was 2. Yes, they more than doubled up on that. That is very impressive. They went and got Jaden DeLoria and the transfer portal at quarterback. They had the most wins as a result since 2018. They were top 10 offensively last year in pass yards per game, explosive plays. They were top 20 in total yardage. They lacked badly on defense in terms of depth. They lacked. And they'll probably lack again over there. You got to understand, we're working on different metrics. We're working on a different scale. Okay, if Florida was dealing with the issues that Arizona was dealing with, I wouldn't be calling Florida a sleeper. Arizona has not done anything of note in recent history. And so when I look at where they were, which was the bottom of the barrel out in the Pac-12, and then I look at the fact that they were recruiting in the 50s, 60s, 70s, all of a sudden last 2 classes, 22, they had 2 top 40 classes. For Arizona, one of those was top 25, by the way. For Arizona, it's a good sign. So Texas Tech, Iowa, Ole Miss, Arizona. Those are my sleeper programs right now. It's not an exhaustive list, so I'll be sure to look down in the comments, and I guarantee you probably submit some names that I wish I would have put in there, but just we'll keep an eye on them.